Okay, so this is like end of trip, Frankfurt. So we get on the plane. This would have been yesterday, a year ago, yesterday, 27th. I think. I don't know. The dates are all weird because we lost a day or gained a day fly. So I don't know exactly, kind of exactly. But we left country on the 27th. So there'll be the 26th was at the airport when he was. Uh, yeah, and then we had Subway sandwich at the airport. Um, Then we flew to Frankfurt. We got there late. We got there pretty late at night. We got to the hotel at like 10:30, 10:30. It was kind of late. And then the next day, before we caught the flight back to America, we went shopping. Spent a lot of money. Well, I did on stuff for his people, souvenirs and stuff. And we shopped at like the the €1 store. It was kind of cool. It was really cool, just kind of hanging out and being in a culture thing. And we got like a donut or something. And then we caught a bus. There was sort of a direct bus nearby that took us right to the airport. And we had to wait a long time for it, but we got there and got on the plane. So I love Boeing 767, but there were this German young kids, so like teenage, late teens kids behind us in the seats, and of course Joey Casper got the window seat because he always got the window seat because he was taking photos for us. Uh, but the person behind the girl kept kicking in the back of his seat, and he got absolutely furious. He just got absolutely furious. And I was talking to the stewardess in German and kind of muttering back to them to knock it off. And he just was just getting red faced and angry. So it was not a very pleasant flight home. Saw some cool movies and stuff like that. On the trip out over, like we shared headphones and we watched the movies and we just had so much fun watching everything together. But on the way home, he was just kind of doing his own thing. When the airplane left the ground, we took the minute we took off, flying back to the U.S., we both started crying. I cried pretty hard um, because I was so sad it was over. He was probably crying tears of relief. I don't know why. I don't know why he was crying. I tried to figure it out or ask him, why. Um, I know he was homesick and anxious to get home. Um, and I guess I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'll think about it. I have notes. When I start going through notes, after trip notes, um, I probably have some observations in there. But as for now, we got back. We flew back over, and David picked us up at the airport. My brother, and you know, he was glad to see us. And then that night, I was like, okay, well, let's sort through our souvenirs because we're going to divvy everything up. We're going to divvy up our souvenirs, divvy up the money because he was going to take some to some kids and I was going to take some to some kids. So it was cool, European money. And he was like, oh, I'm too tired. Let's do it later. Let's do it later. So I went to bed and it was crazy. Part of what I remember from the trip is I mean, for months afterwards, I just people say, "How'd you sleep last night?" Or so I haven't slept since Frankfurt. And um, the first night in Frankfurt, I slept okay, but after that, it wasn't. I could not fall asleep before he did. I just, for some reason, I just until I knew he was asleep and safe and sound. And I mean, that was a big thing for me, as I promised before we left, is that I would take care of him. I wouldn't leave him. I would take care of him. Even though I, at one point, booked tickets to just bail on him. He'd have a hotel room, he had his tickets. I was just done with it because that was the day he hit me the second time in Faro. I was ready to be done. But I was just gonna hop a plane to Paris. But he had my passport. That's what we were fighting over. He took my passport, and then when I got my passport back, our emergency travel money, the $100 that I had in there for emergency travel, $100 bill, was gone. When he was in the shower, I found it in his wallet. I'd put a little thumbnail mark on it. I don't know why, but that was it. And he had a fit. Kept looking for it all day. Kept going through his wallet. He goes, "You know, I check my wallet every day." No, he never did. He never checked his wallet for money because he knew he never had any, except that which I gave him. So there was no. He wasn't constantly checking his wallet for that. Um, so I don't know what that was about. But in the interests of interstellar amity, I gave it to him. It's like, here, oh, okay. Well, that was the money Mary gave me to buy marijuana. Mary gave, so when we got back, I was going to buy it and take it to Mary. It's like, yeah, whatever. But I know that he gave that money to the whores in Prague, the women at the Coyotes where they roofied him or whatever. The first time he hit me. So anyway, that was disillusioning. Plus the deal with the bracelet, you know. He bought two matching bracelets, one copper, one silver, and I was like, oh, he's getting one for me. They were both his. And there was this little crummy bracelet left, and I looked at it and I said, "Can you mix this up for me?" And she fixed it up. It's beautiful. And when he saw it, he's like, "Oh, I'll trade you. I'll trade you." I was like, "No, no, hell no, selfish bastard." But uh, so that night back in Seattle, it was where we had started the journey. That the it was our second night together, second or third night together, third, fourth, fifth night together. That we first stayed in that bed, and this was the last night, and it was just horrible. It was just awful because he just rolled over and just totally shut me out. It was our last. It was our last night together because he decided he needed to go back. The original plan was to stay in Seattle for 4 or 5 days, decompress, go over the trip, talk about it, share, get the photos, take situated, the souvenirs, and talk and share our trip and what we did. But he had to get back, to the little girl's birthday. He had to get to little girl's birthday, which was the next day. And he said, "I'll take a bus. I'll just take a bus." I said, "No, I'll drive you back." I hadn't wanted to, but I'll drive you back. So that'll be tomorrow. Will be the story of the drive back. But yeah, it ain't a lot to tell. And then we go into then after that'll be the aftermath. So I won't be posting every day, just every few days. It's just so profoundly sad, to have shared an experience like that for the most part was positive until we got back and he just started shitting all over it. And just because you shit all over something does not make it yours. It was ours, and he decided that he was going to shut me out so I couldn't have any pleasant memories of what happened. So we'll cover that tomorrow on the drive home. I just wanted to get you up to speed on that, and it was funny how he was so annoyed on the flight with being kicked and all that. It was hilarious. Uh, but I wasn't as defensive toward him. I mean, I wasn't as big a defender as I had been previously, because at that point it was just we were both exhausted and kind of trying to find our own space within our own minds. But more about that later on. I'm going to leave for now. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's really, really hard. It's very, very difficult to talk about, to think through, because I really haven't allowed myself to think about a lot of this for a year. Because it was just in the moment, not knowing what's going on. Things are happening so fast in a lot of different areas, and that's why I'm doing this. I kind of come to grips with it, but it will. There's definitely the story. Just the trip does not end here. And I said that on the flight home. I said, when we get back, that's not the end of the trip by any means, and it hasn't been. So more about that later. Thanks.